guys, welcome back to another video then. Hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe and like then. I'm back with another live stream today. Doing the FA Cup predictions from Friday to Monday then. So we've joined with a guest today. Only one. I'm joined by Manny, you alright mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good, thank you. And always a pleasure to come on your channel. You've done quite a few, and you've called me on. It's always wonderful to come and join you. And for all of the talk about how the FA Cup might have lost a little bit of its magic, it's still something which is taken seriously by a lot of fans. So I only hope that these games will, live up to the expectations. And I'll tell you one thing: even if the big teams might not take it seriously anymore, there are a lot of smaller teams who live for this tournament. They're the reasons why the FA Cup is a must-watch. Simple as that.
Yeah. So getting on to the first FA Cup game then. It's both Premier League sides Friday night. Manchester City taking on Arsenal. Of course, it's first against second in the Premier League, but this is, of course, the FA Cup match. I think Manchester City, of course, they're getting going now. They was playing really bad, but they've got going the last two games with two big wins against Spurs and Manchester City against Wolves. And their next game is actually Spurs again. They have to play. They have to play Spurs, then Aston Villa, then Arsenal, then Forest. They've got big games. I think Forest will be a tough one as well because it's at a City ground. I think they're playing well lately. Yes, they're losing in the EFL Cup at a minute 2-0. But I think Forest have been playing really good lately. However, for Arsenal in the Premier League, I think they've been on fire this season, of course. They've been a really great team. But I'm going to get to my score prediction and go Manchester City 1, Arsenal 2. I'm going 2-1 win to Arsenal.
And why exactly is that?
I just think, I don't know, I think City, yes, both teams will fight for the title, but I just think City will want to go for it more, if you know what I mean. Because I know Arsenal are 5 points ahead, but I think Arsenal will want to win like the FA Cup or something, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I don't know. I think Arsenal will nick this.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that, to be honest, mate, because here's the thing. Ever since winning the FA Cup, Arteta's performances and Arsenal's performances in the Cups have not really been anything to shout about. I believe we did reach the semi-finals of the EFL Cup. I believe it was the previous season when we lost to Liverpool in the semi-final, and even then, that loss 2-0 could very easily have been worse. And I remember Thomas Partey had been rushed back into action after the African Cup of Nations with Ghana, and he ended up getting sent off in that game of all things. And we've also had to deal with some very upsetting FA Cup exits to the likes of Southampton and Nottingham Forest in the following. Southampton and Nottingham Forest in the following season since winning that tournament. So, one thing I will say about Pep Guardiola is that, in addition to doing well to dominate the league, his cup record is also quite splendid in many ways. FA Cup, perhaps not so much, but you'll always find City there or thereabouts in the final stages. And certainly the Arsenal team that beat City in the semi-finals in 2020 en route to winning the tournament is a much changed side. I think, obviously, Aubameyang isn't there. Emi Martinez isn't there. He is, of course, now with you lot. And I'm glad you're taking good care of him and treating him well. And I just think that when it comes to taking Cup seriously, City do have the squad to be able to make sure that they can dominate and launch campaigns, quadruple campaigns for the Cups, the Premiership, and the Champions League. Whereas with Arsenal, we just don't have the bench strength. And traditionally, especially thankfully, this is an FA Cup weekend, so I'm pretty certain there won't be any Premiership action during the week. But I just don't see Arsenal doing enough to beat Manchester City, whichever team we put out, because if we put out a full strength team, it'll pretty much send the message that we don't trust our fringe players to do the job, and fringe players traditionally play in the FA Cup. And if we do put out a fringe team, questions will be asked about how good that team really is. Matt Turner and Kieran Tierney are absolute quality. I have no problems playing them. But the prospects of Sambi Lakonga and Fabio Vieira coming up against a midfield which could very well include some more than decent players, whether it's Bernardo Silva or Ilkay Gundogan or what have you, I'm pretty certain that Kevin De Bruyne might get to play and, relish playing against the Arsenal as he always does. I'm actually going to go for a 2-1 scoreline, but that'll be in favour of Manchester City because they will want to make sure they score their goals, have a professional performance, and conserve their energy, while Arsenal are going to look to do as well as they can. And certainly, if they do run the risk of going too far behind, it will be a case of damage limitation for them as the game goes on. So 2-1 to Manchester City.
Okay, I've got Manny said 2-1 City. I've said 2-1 to Arsenal. Get your predictions in if anyone is in there. And yeah. So move on then to Walsall versus Leicester City. A League 2 side up against a Premier League side. This is basically a Midlands derby, not too far from each other. Of course, Walsall are 11th in League 2. They are playing okay. However, for Leicester, they've had a really struggling season in the Premier League this season. They are sitting 14th in the Premier League. So I think you need to go shocks. You need to put big teams up against the Premier League sides. And I think Leicester will be fighting to stay up this season to get far, like to get about top half of the Premier League. So because Walsall are at home, I'm going to go Walsall 1, Leicester City 0. I'm going 1-0 win to Walsall.
I'm not going to agree with you on that, mate, because here's the thing. Leicester also do have a pretty happy knack of doing decently well in the Cups. And of course, they were FA Cup winners not too long ago themselves. I'm just taking a look at Walsall right now. As you've mentioned, they are 11th in League 2. And their own league form has been... they could certainly have done quite a bit better in a few of their league games. And obviously... they still need to have a little bit more in terms of consistency, and of course, I just think that when it comes to Leicester as well, when it comes to the Cup, there's something about the Cup that actually brings the best out of Leicester City, and they're going to know that they can't afford to slip up against a team like this. I see Cameron over there has predicted a 2-1 win for Leicester. I do know that in some of their games they've allowed them to go to penalties, but their backup goalkeeper, Stefan Everson, has been quite outstanding in between the sticks when it comes to penalties. And obviously with Jamie Vardy coming back into the team after a long layoff, he'll also relish the chance of playing in this game, and I think his know-how against some of the lower teams will come in quite handy. It will be a changed team, but there will still be quite a few players who will add some experience and quality to that Leicester lineup. And I just think there'll be a bit too much for Walsall, who will fight hard, but will go down. And I'm going to side with Cameron. It will be 2-1 to the Foxes.
Okay, Cameron said hello. He said 1-0 to Arsenal. And he said 2-1 to Leicester City. So the next game, of course, is a League 1 team of it, Axanlia, against our Premier League side, of course. Axanlia, of course, not playing that well in League 1, sitting 20th in the league with 25 points. And because Morecambe is playing this weekend, then if Morecambe win, then Axanlia will drop into that bottom three. So I think Leeds. I ain't gonna go another chance. I think Leeds win this. I've got their battered Cardiff last time out 5-2. Yeah, and I think I could beat Bournemouth Wood. I think it was last night, was it? 1-0 in extra time by a penalty. I think Leeds will win this, and I think it'll be accidentally nil Leeds United 2. I'm going 2-0 win to Leeds United.
Accrington Stanley, who are they? 3-0 to Leeds United. And I should mention, of course, that even if Morecambe win and send Accies into the relegation zone, they will have 2 games in hand, but they do need to get their act together.
Yeah, I agree. Cameron put shocker in. I'll say 2-0 Stanley. I hope that happens, but I don't think it will. Of course, we all hate Leeds, don't we? But
well, I don't hate Leeds. They may not necessarily be my cup of tea, but I don't hate them per se. It is what it is.
Right. Right there, mate. Sorry.
All good. Don't worry about it.
Need to get. You can talk. I'm just getting my charger full.
Yeah, and looks to me as though your friend Cameron also likes a few FA Cup shocks as well. I mean, the confidence with which he's predicted a 1-0 win for Arsenal is certainly telling. I mean, it's certainly a reflection of the form that we've shown in the league, but you know, the league and the FA Cup, chalk and cheese.
Yeah, so move on to the next game. I'll call it a championship game. Well, not a championship game, but both in the championship. Blackburn Rovers taking on Birmingham City. Of course, Blackburn welcome the scum in the FA Cup, of course. Of course, you can tell I hate Birmingham. You know, Birmingham, let's be real, they started the season really strong. Now they've dropped off into the 19th in the league. They could be going down. They're 6 points safe. However, for Blackburn, again, they've dropped off in the championship. They're sitting 4th. Yes, they're still in the playoffs. But then if other teams win, they lose, then they could finish out of the playoff. I think Blackburn will win this. I think it'll be tight one. I'm going to go Blackburn 2, Birmingham City 1. 2-1 win to Blackburn.
Same. I'm actually going for a 3-1 win because it does look as though Birmingham are declining a great deal, and I just don't see their defense being able to, match up to them. So, yeah, I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Blackburn.
Yeah. So, of course, the next game, it is another scum. Bristol City against West Bromwich Albion then. Of course, another championship game, of course. Bristol City, however, they've been playing well lately. Let be fair. I think they've been playing really well lately. They're sitting 17th in the league. However, for West Brom, they're sitting 10th. But I heard earlier, West Brom manager, who actually left Huddersfield to come to West Brom, he could be now leaving West Brom to go to Everton. So, will that maybe give him a bit down and a bit nervous? Because I think he's a class manager. I do. Does it go Pens?
Yeah, Corberan is actually a quality manager, but I do hope that West Brom will say no, because it's almost unheard of, in my opinion, for a manager to join the club at the beginning of a season and then, barely just a few months later with a Premiership club coming in to suddenly decide to want to leave. And especially the way Everton are now, I mean, the irony is that Everton themselves could end up getting relegated. So if Corberan thinks he would be escaping the frying pan, he might just end up coming back to the fire, if you will. So would it really make any sense for him? I hope he says no. And it's also quite pertinent to note that as good a manager as he is, Ryan has made it clear that there are a few Huddersfield fans who were still, quite angry at the way he left Huddersfield, especially so soon after the playoff final, which they lost to Nottingham Forest. I'm sure that walking away from the Baggies would not do anything good for his reputation. And I think, smart person that he is, he wouldn't want to risk that. And back to the game in question, I want to take a look and see where City and the Albion are.
Well, my prediction is 2-1 West Brom. I think they'll just nick it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair prediction. I think with Bristol City, they are sort of in the middle of the lower half of the table, but themselves, ironically, are not quite safe from relegation.
Mm.
And as for the Baggies, well, they've started to fade away a little bit, and they were high up in contention for the playoffs, but they played some more games. They're behind on points. They will need to get some momentum back, and I think beating Bristol City could very well be the way to do it. So 2-1 to the Baggies for me as well.
Okay. Then Cameron put 1-0 to Bristol City. Okay.
Ooh. Like I said, he loves his shocks.
Yeah. The next game then, it is of course Fulham against Sunderland. Fulham are in the Premier League. Of course, Sunderland, however, are in the Championship. Fulham are, of course, 7th in the Premier League. They're coming up with a 1-0 loss, though, against Spurs in the Premier League. Of course, their last cup game was a 2-0 win against Hull City. However, for Sunderland, they are in the Championship and they are 9th in the Championship, a point behind playoffs. Of course, Sunderland last cup won. They actually beat Shrewsbury 2-1 from coming 1-0 down in the 81st minute and scoring 2 goals in the 90th minute. That is class for Sunderland. I think Fulham will win this. I think it'll be a close one. I'm going to go Fulham 2, Sunderland 1.
I'm going to stick my neck out and say that this could very well be a shock. Fulham 1, Sunderland 2. Because if you take a look at history, Fulham have also had their share of pretty poor cup losses over the years, especially at home. And with Sunderland in a bit of a resurgence right now, I remember the days when, they had, obviously consistently getting relegated from the Premiership. If that wasn't bad enough, to not even be able to hack it in the Championship was even worse. But I think they seem to be a lot better following their EFL trophy win, not the EFL Cup win, but an EFL trophy win. And I could see them, continuing their recovery. Fulham, I think, might be caught in the mind of trying to make sure they maintain their Premiership challenge. I just don't know if they have the bench strength either to maintain their position in the cup. Yeah, I'm going to go for a shock. 2-1 to the Wearsiders.
Okay. Next game, of course, it is my League One team, my favourite League One team. It is Ipswich Town taking on Burnley. Then, of course, Ipswich are in League One. They're 3rd in League One. However, for Burnley, they're in the Championship. They are top of the Championship. I'm going to go a shock. I think, well, not really a shock, but I think Ipswich can win this. I just think both teams, yes, they want to get promoted, and I think both of them will. But I think Ipswich, because they're at home, I can see Ipswich winning. The last time both teams played, it was actually a 0-0 and 2-0 win to Ipswich. So 2 clean sheets for Ipswich there. I'm going to go Ipswich here. I'm going to go Ipswich 2, Burnley 1.
Ooh, that is a confident result, isn't it? For me, I think Burnley should nick this because they're not only playing well, but I believe they also have the they've got a decent bench strength and should be able to see off Ipswich. Of course, a lot of people remember the Tractor Boys from years gone by, how they shocked the world in the 80s, and of course in the late 90s and early 2000s they were a Premiership team, but they've sadly fallen a great deal. But I hope that if they get promoted to the Championship again, they can start to fight back. I just think coming up against the Championship high flyers might be a game too fast. So a Burnley win, but it could be tight. This could end up, mind you, going to penalties.
Okay. Cameron said 3-2 Burnley. Next game then, it is Luton Town against Grimsby Town. Then, of course, Luton are in the Championship. They are sitting just out of the playoffs on the same points of 6th place. They are sitting 7th. However, for Grimsby, of course, they are in League 2 and they are 16th. I think Luton batter them, and I'm going to go 3-0 Luton. I just think Luton will batter Grimsby here.
Grimsby in the Championship too?
Nah, Grimsby in League 2.
Ooh. Should be an easy win for Luton. 2-0. Pardon me. 2-0 to Luton Town. Bailey, are you there, mate? Oh, I must have gone.
There you go.
Yeah, I said it was going to be a 2-0 win for Luton Town.
Yeah, fine. So Cameron put 2-1 Grimsby.
Yeah.
Fair play. He going to shots tonight, isn't he? Next game then, it is Sheffield Wednesday taking on Fleetwood. They're both in League 1. Of course, Sheffield Wednesday are sitting 2nd in League 1, 3 points behind the title. Fleetwood, however, they're sitting 17th. I think Sheffield Wednesday will just fight for getting promoted. So I can see them like resting some players. So I'm going to go poor game and go Sheffield Wednesday 0, Fleetwood 1. I'm going 1-0 win to Fleetwood.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Sheffield Wednesday were also the team which ended Newcastle's FA Cup campaign, if I'm not wrong. And given that they're flying high where they are, while Fleetwood aren't really doing too well, I think Fleetwood might also decide that they can't afford a cup run if it means potentially sacrificing their chances of remaining in that division. Whereas Sheffield Wednesday, I think a cup run could very well give them more confidence to go ahead and earn that promotion. After beating Newcastle, you can't just say that they won't want to have a taste of it. So it'll be a good win for Sheffield Wednesday. It might be a 1-0 win. Yeah, I'm going for
1-0. Cameron said 3-1 to Sheffield Wednesday. Next game then, it is Southampton against Blackpool. Of course, Southampton are Premier League. They're coming off with a 1-0 loss against the mighty Villa. They're sitting bottom of the Premier League. However, for Blackpool, they're in the Championship and they are sitting down there. They're sitting 23rd as well. It does go to replay apparently, I got told. So, if of course Blackpool game against Huddersfield did actually get they are now playing on the 7th of February. But if this is a replay, then they will change it again. And I really can see this being a replay. I'm going to just go a 0-0 and it will go to a replay.
Ooh, what a big call. Mick McCarthy up against Southampton. He'll also be determined to make sure that his team doesn't exit the FA Cup without a fight. And of course, the Seasiders are also going to want to try and win to impress their new manager for sure. You think the Southampton would have enough about them, but the thing is about Southampton, they actually played quite well against Aston Villa. I just don't know if they necessarily might have enough to, avoid going down. But then Blackpool also have their own relegation worries. I suppose it'll be that difference in quality which will tell. Because again, Nathan Jones will want to bring in some fringe players who will want to prove themselves. So this should be a 1-0 win for Southampton.
Okay then. So the next game then, it is of course Preston North End against Spurs. Then Preston, of course, in the Championship, they've probably got the most clean sheets this season. Preston, of course, sitting 11th. However, for Spurs, they're in the Premier League. They ain't playing that good lately. They're sitting 5th. I can see this being a tight game because they beat Pompey. They beat Portsmouth only 1-0 in the last round. So I'm going to go 2-1 to Spurs.
Same here with me, 2-1. I think Conte will have to put out a reserve team. He's definitely not going to play Hugo Lloris because, I mean, not only has Hugo Lloris been absolutely awful, but Fraser Forster deserves a game. And in any case, he can't afford to risk his captain getting injured in a game like this. 2-1 to Spurs, easy. They should have enough about them to go through.
Yeah. Cameron put 1-1 and we'll go to replay. Next game then, it is of course Manchester United against Reading. And of course, Manchester United are in the Premier League. They're playing really good. I'm watching them now. And they're beating Forest 2-0 in the EFL Cup, of course. Man U are, of course, 4th in the league. However, for Reading, of course, they are a Championship team. They're playing okay this season. Yes, they got battered by Stoke at a weekend, what was pathetic because how can you get battered by Stoke? I think United win this though. I'm going to go 3-1 to United.
Same thing here. I know it'll be an emotional return to Manchester United for Paul Ince, who was a star in their midfield in the early to mid 90s. And I just don't think that will he'll be able to motivate his men to try and get a shock, because United do look very accomplished, and they certainly have enough about them to eke out a win. And it's fair to say that the confidence that Reading had with their early season performances has just dissipated a bit. Yeah, it should be a very comfortable win. Andy Carroll might score, but it won't be enough. 3-1. I agree.
Right, Cameron said 2-0 to United. Next game then, it is Brighton against Liverpool. Both, of course, in the Premier League. Of course, Brighton playing really good this season. They're like 6th in the league. However, for Liverpool, they're playing poor, so they'll probably want to win this. They did play a couple of weeks ago, and it was 3-0 Brighton. But I think Liverpool will want to win this. So I'm going to go Brighton 1, Liverpool 2. I'm going 2-1 win to Liverpool.
Nice. I think Brighton looks so good. Certainly in the Cups, they provide some very stern opposition. And they do have a guy like Danny Welbeck, of course, ex-Arsenal, ex-Manchester United, who can come off the bench and cause more than a few problems. I just don't know if I can necessarily see Liverpool having an easy time of it, but maybe their quality will determine that they end up winning. Yeah, this could be a very tight game, though. I actually think that it could very well go into a replay. So I'm calling this 1-1 draw between both teams, and the replay to be played at Anfield.
Okay. Cameron put 1-0 Brighton. Next game then, it is of course Stoke City against Stevenage. What would have been Aston Villa and taken on Stoke City, but of course we've got knocked out by Stevenage. But Stevenage, yes, they beat a Prem team, and people think they won't beat a Championship team. Well, I can see them doing it twice in a row. To be fair, I just think Stevenage are playing really well in League Two, and I think they've got passion, they've got good players, they've got a manager. They will be in League One next year, and I think Stevenage win this. I think Stoke have been playing poor in the Championship this season, so I'm gonna go Stoke 1, Stevenage 2. I'm going 2-1 win to Stevenage.
Yeah, the thing about these teams which have giant killing performances in the early rounds is that they end up, running out of steam. Stoke aren't doing it all well, but I actually believe that they should have just enough for Stevenage in the end. I didn't even see this going to a replay. I think Stoke will just eke it out. 2-1 win to the Potters.
Okay, coming to 2-1 Stevenage. Next game then, it is Wrexham against Sheffield United. I call Wrexham a non-league. Of course, Sheffield United are Championship. I can see Wrexham giving Sheffield United a game. I think they're a strong team, Wrexham, and they beat, of course, Championship game last time out, 4-3 against Coventry away as well, and they're at home this time, so will that give them a... And Sheffield United will want to try and get promoted, so I'm going to go Wrexham 3, Sheffield United 2. I'm going 3-2 win to Wrexham.
Yeah, Wrexham is a name which doesn't have very good memories for Arsenal fans, and they have a very nasty knack of pulling up some FA Cup shocks themselves. Up against the Sheffield United team, which is also doing very hard to earn promotion back to the Premiership. I definitely don't see them losing this game to non-league opposition, certainly not this late in the tournament. I don't even think it's going to go to a replay. I think Sheffield United will be determined to make sure that they qualify well for the next stage. And even if it does promise to be a tight game, I think Sheffield United could end up winning. I'm going to go for a reasonably tight 2-1 win.
Okay, Cameron put 2-10 will go to a replay. The last game then, it is on Monday night between a League One team taking on a Premier League team. Derby County against West Ham, then the Hammers. Of course, Derby did play last night and beat Port Vale 2-1, scoring 2 in 1 minute, 88th minute and 89th minute. So fair play to Derby. I think they're a strong team and they will be in a championship next year, I think. However, for West Ham, they ain't playing good, but they did pick up the win in the Premier League last time out against Everton with a 2-0 win. I just think Derby can give them a game, but I think West Ham might come and tie. You know what? I'm going to go 1-1 and it will go to replay.
I'm going to disagree. I think as poor as West Ham are playing in the Premiership, they do enjoy the cup competitions. And, this is also going to be another game which David Moyes will want to win. Derby, of course, have had their issues. They were in the Championship, but of course ended up being demoted to League One following their own administrative issues. And they are fighting hard to get back. But I just don't see their squad, even with all the Premiership experience some of their players may have. I just don't see that as being enough to overcome a West Ham team, which still is capable of playing some really good football, especially against some, of these lesser teams. And they won't allow such a lower placed team like Derby to get to them. So this should be a routine win. A 2-1 win may not really tell the whole story of how well West Ham will play, but a win is a win, and I think they'll take what they can get. 2-1 to the Irons.
Okay, of course, before we finish, I just want to do a match preview for Arsenal take on Manchester City Friday. Of course, your team welcome Man City. How are you feeling going into this FA Cup game then?
Strange, really, because as I said before, the FA Cup, ever since our win in 2020, should have been the tournament where we would do as well as we could and really make a name for ourselves. But we've flattered to deceive under Arteta, and that's not something that has, been taken to very kindly by a lot of our supporters. We are, of course, the 14-time champions. Our name, our legacy when it comes to the FA Cup is pretty much, without question. But we haven't been playing as though we deserve that. And it adds to the argument that maybe, top teams just don't want to take the FA Cup seriously anymore because there's just no real point. They've got bigger fish to fry in terms of trying to fight for, in this case, possibly winning the Premier League, qualifying for the Champions League, and so forth. But it's also going to be interesting to see if both Guardiola and Arteta will rest some players. I would like to see some players getting rested and, proving their worth. Certainly, as I said, for the likes of Kieran Tierney, this could very well be one of the few more games he gets this season. I think with Alexander Zinchenko establishing himself as Mikel Arteta's first choice left back for now, if only because he suits the system better, it's going to be hard to see if Kieran Tierney will be able to, wrestle it back. He's obviously, when it comes to playing defensively, he's the better defender, but Arteta wants a little bit more from his left back. So this is going to be a chance for him to shine. I would expect to see Matthew Turner in goal. I mean, obviously, given his excellent performances in the World Cup for the USA, he's shown that he is more than capable of playing in the bigger games. So he will certainly want to do as well as he can and play a little bit more. I am worried about the midfield. I think it's fair to say that given the state of our bench, we cannot afford to drop all three of our starting three attacking midfielders. And I mean, not our starting three attacking midfielders necessarily, but we can't afford to drop all three of Odegaard, Xhaka, and Partey. So one of them will play. The only question is, who will it be? I suppose with his overall fitness, it might be Xhaka who ends up playing and captaining the side. And we will also have to look at, trying to give someone like Marquinhos a game if we don't want to burn out Eddie Nketiah. And this could very well be a game where he will want to prove his worth, but then can we risk him with Gabriel Jesus still out? It's hard to say. In stark contrast, City have the stronger bench. They can put out almost a reserve team. They don't even play Edison in goal, and it's their backup goalkeeper, Ortega, who normally plays, and he doesn't do a half bad job either. I just think that City have the better squad, and especially with regard to the way they've been playing this season. Yes, they lost the semi-finals of the EFL Cup to an inspired Southampton team, but for the most part, when it comes to cup competitions, City are very much a self-motivated team. They will obviously want to try and put the record straight and make sure that they earn qualification for the next round and at least earn a trophy for themselves. So that's one of the reasons why I'm predicting at least a tight City win, because Arsenal will fight and the atmosphere will be, it will be quite noisy because the fans will believe. I just think that this might be a step too far for the Gunners when it comes to the FA Cup. But the last time we played them in the FA Cup, we beat them. So, you just never know. You really don't.
No, and Cameron Potter, I want Trossard and that new signing to start. Yeah.
Yep. They will.
Yeah. Before, of course, we end, I just want to say, what is your team of the year so far? So, of course, go from goalkeeper to striker. So we'll go for goalkeeper, play 4 at back, 3 in midfield, and like 3 in attack. So
you want a 4-3-3, yes?
Yeah. So we'll go from, right there, Forest Hard and attack owner. So we'll go for goalkeeper first. Who do you think?
I know this is not going to endear me to my fellow Arsenal supporters, but as much as they like to, rave over Aaron Ramsdale, I think Nick Pope has arguably had the much better season. He's kept the most clean sheets, made some better saves, and not put a foot wrong at all during his time as Newcastle's number one. I definitely don't see Martin Dubravka coming back into the team, in these in the latter half of this season, and he could very well end up leaving St. James's Park. It's just a pity that Pope hasn't really been considered for England with Jordan Pickford continuing to rule the roost. But when it comes to England, Pickford has just been so far superior. But when it comes to the league, Pope has easily been the best English goalkeeper, and he's been worth so much to his to Newcastle. Yeah, he'd be my goalkeeper, no doubt about it.
Okay. I think it could be like Pope or Ramsdale. I think, but I'm just gonna edge it to Ramsdale. To be honest, Emi Martinez has been good as well, but I think I'm just gonna edge it to Ramsdale. Right back then, who do you think they could be tough?
That is a good shout indeed. For me, it'll probably be a toss-up between. I think City's defense has not been good, and so I wouldn't want to pick any of their defenders who have not really been up to the mark at all. I am very tempted, of course, to try and pick Ben White, but I certainly can't ignore the claims of Kieran Trippier, who has certainly done his business for Newcastle and also for England. I just think, though, that the way he's consistently played, the way he's adapted to his new role, didn't have the best game against Manchester United, but other than that, he's been really solid. I'd say that Ben White would be my starting right back.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you again. I think Ben White. I think he's a class player, and I think of course Reece James has been injured this season. Trent has been. He has been putting good balls in, but like he hasn't been like defending well. And
yeah, exactly. The thing about TAA is that he's outstanding when it comes to attack, but defensively he isn't the best. And you want your defenders to be primarily good defenders more than anything else.
Yeah. So we'll go left back then. Left back. I'm not too sure on this one. You go first.
A very left field pick here. I know that Dan Burn is very much in contention for his spot in the team. I certainly can't say Kieran Tierney. Zinchenko has been good, but just given that he's really just playing well with the system, is he necessarily the benchmark of what a good left back should be? Luke Shaw. I think he's yes, he hasn't exactly been playing. He hasn't been ever present for Manchester United, but he has been very consistent, and Ten Hag relies on him a great deal to scuff out a lot of attacks and also provide a little bit of impetus, better transition. I wouldn't say he's been the best, Cameron, because as well as he's worked with the transition from defense into attack, sometimes his defending has been very suspect. So those are things that we have to consider whenever we're selecting a left back. So I'd go for Luke Shaw from Manchester United. What about you, mate?
I'm going to agree with you again. I think Luke Shaw, I think he's been a best left back. If Alex Moreno would have been in the Prem longer, then I probably would have went in. But I just think, of course, he only played about one or two games. So I think Luke Shaw left back. Two centre backs then. In my opinion, I think a Saliba from Arsenal, and I think it will be Martinez from Manchester United.
I'd go with an Arsenal-Manchester United combination, but I'd go with the all-French pairing of Saliba and Raphael Varane.
3-0 Man U.
The tie's over. And to anyone watching, even if Dean Henderson had been in goal, he would have had no chance with United's goals, let me tell you.
Bruno Fernandes, what a player. What a goal that was.
Agreed. I mean, Hennessy's done his best and made some saves, but the goals that were scored were just, no keeper, not even Henderson would have stopped them. Huh?
United fans trying to get on the pitch and loads of police were pushing them.
Yeah, I think those fans are just taking the mickey, but, it is what it is, really.
Yeah, but we knew.
Yeah, I think Cameron, you have a point that Dan Burn has been good at left back for Newcastle.
Who did you put at centre back?
Saliba and Raphael Varane.
Yeah, So midfield then I'm gonna go Odegaard. Odegaard, Douglas Luiz. No, actually, I'm gonna go Odegaard, Kamara, and go. I'm gonna go Bruno Fernandes.
So you say you want a 4-3-3, right?
Yeah.
For me, it would be Casemiro in the center, Xhaka on the left, and well, that is a tough call, isn't it? Very tough indeed. But I mean, obviously, you can't overlook any of City's outstanding midfielders who have certainly done quite well. I'm thinking someone like Bernardo Silva from Manchester City.
Yeah. So the front three then, I'm saying left wing. Well, left wing I'm gonna go Saka. Right wing I'm gonna go Almiron, and up front I'm gonna go Erling Haaland.
So you like Saka on the left wing, do you?
Yeah.
He normally plays on the right for Arsenal, and I also agree that when you have a left-footed guy, you need to sort of have him on the left wing. But clearly, the fashion these days is to have your left-footed guy cut in and then score when he's playing on the right wing. So as long as Saka does seem to enjoy that, can't really complain. But so my front three. I'd have Rashford on the left.
Yeah.
Saka on the right. I'd have Rashford on the left, Saka on the right, because I mean he does use his left foot quite a great deal, especially when it comes to, rolling with it and cutting in. And in the centre, who could be my centre forward? That is a really, really big question. But I suppose there really can only be one answer. Alfie Haaland's son.
Yeah, but there you go, guys. There's an after live stream. Before we end off, cool, I'm gonna go. Manny can say his YouTube and social media.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, no YouTube, but very active on social media. My full name and my year of birth, that's how you can find me on Instagram. And my surname and my year of birth is how you can find me on Twitter. So that's Manny Thangathara 1981 for Instagram and Thangathara 1981 for Twitter. You can catch me on a few other YouTube channels. Shout out to Bailey. Really enjoy talking with him and talking about football away from the Premiership, more into the other facets of the game in the country. Also, shout out to the likes of Del Boy Gunner TV, S. Featley TV, Oris Talks Football, Coach's Corner with Hanno Trollip, Tony Claude Gunner TV, Danny AFC TV, Up the Cherries in all departments, the Bournemouth Fan Channel, Eugene Spurs Asia TV, and Chelsea Dan and a few others. Enjoy coming on and talking. Also, shout out to Anthony Herbert with his channel, Gooners from All Corners of the World. I've come on a couple of his streams and really enjoyed it. If there are any of you who I've missed, I'll make sure I shout you out next time. But all of you, obviously, whenever I come on your streams to talk, it makes me feel quite happy. And I firmly believe that these streams shouldn't be just a way of, flexing our muscles when it comes to our club loyalties. It's a means of having reasoned discussions and debates with fans of the game and being united by our love of this great game. So thanks a lot for having me on once again. Thanks to all of you in the chat. Cameron, big up to you for your comments. And to all of you who've been watching, you've made this stream what it has become. Take care of yourselves. Have yourselves a good night. Have a great rest of your week. Stay safe. Stay happy. Don't do anything that Mr. Francis or I wouldn't do. But for now, I am out, people.
Yep. So of course, subscribe to my main channel. I did make a video on a match reaction earlier for Southampton, of course, losing its Villa. And yeah, of course, I should be back tomorrow or Friday live streaming, of course. So subscribe, like, and we will see you on the next live stream. Peace out.